Welcome into a brand new series here at HD Media. It is called Coach's Corner. Each week, we will be sitting down with a boys or girls head basketball coach throughout the rest of this season, leading up until the state tournament in Charleston in March. And we are pleased to be joining and tip off this series with the boys head basketball coach of the Nitro Wildcats, head coach Austin Lowe. Coach, welcome to the program.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me.
So, Coach, let's start here. I mean, you guys had a fantastic season last year, one of the Final Four teams last year. You guys didn't lose anybody. You bring back a really good core. What's different about this team at this point in the season compared to where you guys were a year ago at this point?
They know 7 of these guys know it's their last ride, and they want to make that extra game this year. And being where we were at last year and the way we went down, having an injury and getting in some foul trouble, getting shady, they think they can play with those guys, and they just want to prove that this year.
When you talk about what's been working well for you guys at this point, I mean, obviously we'll talk about a couple of lumps along the way, but what has worked well for you guys at this point?
Offensively, we've been pretty efficient here of late offensively. Defensively, though, we're much better defensively than we were last year. Last year we struggled at times. We outscored a lot of teams last year, but we focused a lot more on the defensive end and, rebound limiting teams to one shot. And, that's pretty good for us if we can do that because we usually execute pretty high clip in the half court.
You mentioned the defensive side. I mean, you mentioned how you guys struggled in that last year, but what did you guys really hone in on to really get better at that this season?
Pressuring the ball screen defense, not letting teams look through the window and get what they want. A lot of times we would just kind of set back and, we played decent defense, but we didn't pressure. We didn't turn teams over a lot last year, and we've done a lot better job of that this year.
When you talk about that loss to Morgantown a couple of weeks ago up at Magnolia High School in the Rotary Classic, but talk about that loss. Obviously not the outcome you guys wanted. How have you seen your team respond following such a lopsided defeat?
That's a good question. That's a question I'm glad you asked because that was something we didn't see coming. We didn't see that coming. We ran into a buzzsaw. We got up 6-5 early. We called timeout on a loose ball, and they just come out guns blazing, and they got hot, and we had trouble getting up and down the floor with those guys, and that was a big key, and that's kind of where we're weak at right now. And we've had a 9-10 day break, so we really hopped back into the conditioning program for the last 7 or 8 days, and they've had a great week of practice and no complaining. A lot of hands on knees and bent over, but we're getting it, and I think we're better this week than we were last week. That's where we're going with it.
When you talk about a 9 to 10 day stretch, whenever you do have that big stretch in between one game to another, I mean, obviously you want to get a lot more conditioning in, but what do you really focus on? Do you focus more on the team itself, or do you focus more on the execution of plays whenever you go into these stretches?
We've cleaned some stuff up. We haven't we haven't had nobody to prep for. We got Winfield tomorrow, but we've really got into cleaning up what we need to on offense. Defensively, I'm still satisfied with where we're at. We didn't have a great defensive day against Morgantown, but we played a little bit of zone, which we typically don't do because we thought they ran a lot of Spain action, and we didn't think we'd do a very good job of guarding that. And turns out we did a pretty good job guarding it in the second half because they came out and pressed the second half, and they didn't take the foot off gas till 2 minutes to go, and we played with them second half, but that got us in a funk. We probably shouldn't have played them as much zone as we did, and I take that, but that's the biggest thing.
Your schedule this year, obviously we mentioned you all playing Morgantown. You guys have played St. Albans as well. You still have some difficult games along the way. Chapmanville this week. You'll play Fairmont March 1st. You'll play Parkersburg the day before that. I mean, what did you want to see from your team, or what was the ideology behind building such a difficult schedule?
Be ready. We wanted to be ready for late March here. That's the goal every time. And last year, I won't say our schedule was soft, but it was nowhere near the caliber of teams on there that there is this year. I told everybody at the beginning of the season we could lose 10 games and still have a chance to win it. When you go schedule those guys, and that's where we want to be. We want to see where we stand up against those guys going in early. Last year we didn't get to play a Shady last year, a Fairmont, or any of them guys, but we wanted to see where we're at going into it this year and see what we need to work on, especially early. So, and then that's why we went down to the beach. We got 3 great games down there, and then you come back. You had Bridgeport before we went down there, and you come back and you get Morgantown. Supposed to play Fairmont, so we should have had a pretty good idea. But going forward, we still got. Like you said, Fairmont left, but that's the one. We just wanted to be ready for the state tournament and see that speed and that defense and that tenacity that we're going to see the teams we got to beat to be able to compete for a state championship.
We'll talk about some of your players here in a second, but you do mention the state tournament and possibly making it to the state championship game. Again, you guys were one of the Final Four teams last year before losing to eventual state champs Shady. What's it going to take for this team to get over that hump and possibly compete for a state championship this year?
I mean, we're not going to look past nobody. I mean, Wayne's playing really good basketball. Chapmanville can be dangerous. We got to focus on our regional opponents first. If we just do what we're capable of doing and we keep getting better every day, like we have been for last week since Morgantown, I mean, we can be a problem, I think. The biggest thing for us is just going to be able to get up and down the floor with those guys. We play more of an old school, Big Ten style basketball. We're more of a half court. We try to get out and run when we can. But a lot of teams now look like the Warriors. They play 5 guards, and sometimes that's hard for us to guard. And that's why we got the Bridgeports, the Fairmonts, and the Morgantowns. And that's going to be our biggest thing is going forward. Is we've changed the way we practice a little bit. We've been running up and down the floor, picking up full court, so we can get ready to see that towards the end of the year.
Let's talk about some of your players, and let's start with the senior group collectively first. I mean, obviously, this is a group that's been together for a long time, a group that you're really familiar with your son Derek being one of the many seniors on this year's team. But what has this senior group meant for this boys basketball program at Nitro?
Everything. They're a great group of kids, first off, outside of basketball. Man, this is a group of kids you don't have to worry about. They don't get in trouble. 99% of the kids on this team got good grades. They get along. They're great kids. And that's where I'll go first and foremost. I mean, I don't even have to coach practice a lot of times. They know what to do, but they love each other. That's the biggest thing. They love being here. They love to be a part of it because, there's a lot of times this week they could have walked out that door because it was pretty tough on them. But, they got to see, 3 or 4 years ago we had a couple pretty good teams. We had some issues on that team internally, Not something I'm proud of, but something every coach has gone through at some point in their career. And they got to see what that was like. They got to see a locker room that, could be divided at times, but they don't have that. We don't have that here. There's never been an issue with these kids. For 2 years, I haven't had an issue. I mean, they've just kind of took the keys to the car and said, this is how it's going to be.
One of the first players I want to talk about, Landon Poniatowski. I like to call him the high school version of Nikola Jokic in a sense because he just kind of does everything offensively and defensively, more so offensively. I know you've seen a really big step and leap in his defensive effort, but talk about him just from an overall package. I mean, what separates him from other guys you've been able to coach?
Well, first off, he don't shoot like Jokic. If he could shoot like that, we'd be all right. Pony's different, man. Like Pony's a good kid. He's dealt with a lot of adversity in his life. Losing his mom, but he's the guy that if there's a ball on the floor at practice, he gets it up. If somebody takes a seat at practice, he tells them to get up. He's that guy. He sets back on the defense. He's the catalyst of everything. He kind of makes us go. He's an energy guy. Most vocal guy we got. He's kind of like an extra coach out there. Knows everything we're gonna do. There's never a question of him messing anything up. He knows the system, knows every set we're gonna run. He does a really good job. He's kind of, like I said, he's a 6 coach out there. He's a 6 man out there. So
when you talk about the Crouch brothers, Ashton and Colin, those 2 guys, really physical guys. I know you've seen a lot of growth in Colin this year along with Ashton, but those 2 guys have to be really good for you just to be able to have scoring inside. And with Colin, he can shoot some outside as well. But what's it like to have both the Crouch brothers on this team?
Oh, it's amazing. Crouches they're good kids. I mean, Ashton does a good job physically. He's a beast. Colin is so raw and talented. He's gonna be hard to handle for the next couple of years. He probably should have got a little more time last year. He didn't really know what was going on. He was kind of that kid at practice that would just la-di-da-di-da-di, not know everything. And he's still that way sometimes. He's kind of I call him a see-ball, get-ball linebacker in football. He just kind of goes and gets it. He's hard to keep off the floor because he can score in bunches, and he's so daggone athletic, man. I mean, he's to be as big and strong as he is. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Trevor, probably a little more athletic than Trevor. Don't shoot the ball as well, but he gets the ball for rebound, springs back up. He's got such a nice touch around the rim. But them 2 getting to play together, Ashton's 4 points away from his 1,000th point, so he's going to get that. Should get it tomorrow night against Winfield. Colin being on the floor with him, that'll be a special moment for everybody there.
And finally, talk about a player or 2 that's really caught your eye this season. I mean, obviously, you can choose from a multitude of players, but who's really caught your eye to this point at this point in the season?
I'd have to probably go with Colin or Pony. They both stepped up. Pony's Pony. I mean, it's hard to say he's caught my eye. He's always had my eye, but he wants to win. Him and Derek and Ashton, they're the 3 that they get it. They're the ones that practice this week that, if we didn't hit a running drill, they're the ones getting in somebody's tail end. And that's the biggest thing is, I challenged those guys after the Morgantown game, I'm going to put this back on you. I said, this is on us now, me and you three right here. I said, you're the three that go up there with me every home game and every away game when we go to captain's meetings. I said, it's time to be a captain. And, then Colin, just emerges to him, like the way he's flipped the switch. Like I said, last year he was a little immature and didn't know what was going on and kind of goofed off, and he stayed in my doghouse. I mean, I told him, told everybody, he'd play if he didn't mess around, And then this year, when we started workouts, he just kind of flipped the switch. He worked hard in the weight room, worked hard when we were out there running, and got in the open gyms and had a great fall leg, and and he's a hard one to keep off the floor. And like I said, he can get you 10, 15, 20 points and 8 or 10 rebounds every night, just being out there. Those are the guys, though. Between Colin and Pony, that's the two that's really been the biggest surprise.
Well, Coach, best of luck the rest of the way for you guys, and best of luck heading up until the postseason here in the next couple of weeks.
I appreciate you having me, man.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Be sure to follow us on our website at wvgazettemail.com. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Gazmail Sports. That's GAZ Mail Sports. And follow us on Facebook at HD Media Sports again from now until the state tournament, the boys state high school basketball tournament in Charleston in late March. So again, be sure to go on our website, wvgazettemail.com. We will see you all next week for Coach's Corner